Who knows how to hurt you more deeply? The rival watching from across the room, or the friend sitting beside you? An enemy studies your strategy. A friend knows your history. An enemy sees the defenses you show the world. A friend knows where those defenses open. That does not mean friendship is a mistake. It means closeness and reliability are not the same thing. We often trust friends because of everything we have survived together. We assume affection will produce discipline, loyalty will erase envy, and shared memories will protect us when money, status, or fear enters the relationship. Then the situation changes. The friend who once celebrated your dream begins comparing their place inside it. The person you trusted with your weakness learns that your weakness can become leverage. And because betrayal feels humiliating, you withdraw from everyone else, leaving yourself more isolated than before. Why does trust become most dangerous when we stop examining it? I'm Sarah, and this is WiseMind Stories. In the 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene gives us 4 laws that seem harsh when read alone. Law 2 warns against trusting friends too completely and asks us to consider the usefulness of former enemies. Law 10 warns that emotional chaos can spread. Law 18 says isolation is dangerous. And Law 20 advises us not to bind ourselves so completely to one person or side that we lose freedom. These ideas can easily become an excuse for paranoia. That is not where we are going. This episode is about a healthier question. How can you care about people without becoming blind to patterns, incentives, and risk? To answer it, let's meet Nina. Nina Patel and Tess Morgan met during their first week of college. They were opposites in the way that makes friendship feel inevitable. Nina was thoughtful, organized, and cautious. Tess was spontaneous, magnetic, and fearless around strangers. Nina could turn a vague idea into a plan. Tess could walk into a room and make people want to join it. For 10 years, they carried each other through bad relationships, family emergencies, disappointing jobs, and one terrible apartment with a ceiling that leaked whenever it rained. Then they decided to build something together. They called their design agency North and Finch. Nina led strategy and creative work. Tess handled sales and relationships. There was no formal discussion about authority. They split ownership equally, opened a business account, and promised that friendship would always come first. The first year was difficult, but exciting. Tess brought in clients. Nina produced work that kept them. By the 3rd year, the agency employed 9 people and had become known for helping small brands look much larger than they were. From the outside, Nina and Tess appeared inseparable. Inside the company, small problems were beginning to accumulate. Tess sometimes promised impossible deadlines because she hated disappointing clients. She offered discounts without checking the numbers. When Nina raised the issue, Tess reminded her that the agency would not have clients without her. Then Tess began arriving late to internal meetings. She was dealing with a painful breakup, conflict with her family, and growing debt. Nina covered for her. When Tess missed a presentation, Nina said she was sick. When Tess charged a personal trip to the company card, Nina quietly corrected the account. Nina believed she was being loyal. But every rescue removed one reason for Tess to change. The team noticed. When employees missed deadlines, Nina became strict. When Tess missed them, Nina became understanding. Resentment spread through the agency, but no one wanted to challenge the founder's friendship. At the same time, clients increasingly praised Nina's creative work. Tess smiled in the meetings, but afterward, she became critical. They act like the ideas appear by magic, she said. No one remembers who got us into the room. Nina reassured her. She added Tess's name to presentations. She praised her publicly. But because they never discussed the envy directly, reassurance became a temporary sedative, not a solution. Then the agency competed for its largest contract yet. The final two firms were North and Finch, and a smaller agency led by a man named Julian Reyes. Julian had competed against Nina several times. He was direct, unsentimental, and sometimes irritating. He had also never broken an agreement. North and Finch won the contract. 3 weeks later, Julian called Nina. "Your timeline is aggressive," he said. "If you need production support, my team has capacity. Fixed fee, clear scope, no contact with your client unless you approve it." Nina immediately declined. Why would a competitor offer help unless he wanted access? She trusted Tess. She did not trust Julian, but trust was about to become the least examined part of the company. Tess had privately promised the client a launch date 2 weeks earlier than the team had approved. She had done it to close the deal. Now, instead of admitting the promise, she pressured the staff to work nights and weekends. One senior designer resigned. Another took medical leave for exhaustion. The project began collapsing. When Nina discovered the earlier deadline, she confronted Tess. For the first time, years of unspoken resentment entered the room. Tess accused Nina of treating her like an irresponsible employee. Nina accused Tess of hiding information. Tess said the company had become Nina's creative kingdom. Nina said she had spent 3 years cleaning up Tess's chaos. Both of them said things they had been saving for years. 2 days later, Tess resigned. She also announced that she was starting a new agency, and North and Finch's largest long-term client had agreed to go with her. Nina felt as if the floor had disappeared. She was not only losing a business partner, she was losing the person who knew the story of her adult life. And because the betrayal felt personal, Nina made a second mistake. She isolated herself. She stopped attending industry events because she did not want people to ask what happened. She ignored Julian's message. She told employees only that the company was restructuring. She tried to manage the crisis alone, working until 2 or 3 in the morning. Within 6 weeks, North and Finch had lost 2 more clients. The agency was not failing only because Tess had left. It was failing because Nina had turned one broken relationship into a wall around the entire company. This is where Green's laws become more useful as warnings than as commands. Law 2 does not mean friends are naturally treacherous and enemies are secretly noble. It means affection can hide information that rivalry makes visible. With a rival, incentives are easier to see. You expect negotiation. You define terms. You document commitments. With a friend, you may treat boundaries as an insult and questions as a lack of loyalty. Nina and Tess had trusted their history so much that they never designed a future. They had no clear decision rights, no process for resolving conflict, no agreement about clients, expenses, or what would happen if one person wanted to leave. They did not have too much friendship. They had too little structure. Trust without structure does not become deeper trust. Under pressure, it becomes interpretation. Each person begins deciding what the other should have known. Friendship creates another hidden risk. People who knew you before your growth may remain attached to an earlier version of you. They remember when you had the same status, the same uncertainty, and the same amount of power. When your life changes, they may support the achievement while resisting the new boundaries that come with it. Your former roommate may celebrate your company but still expect immediate access to your time. A childhood friend may applaud your promotion but interpret professional confidence as evidence that you have changed. A family member may love you deeply while feeling entitled to benefits from every success. None of this automatically makes them malicious, but unspoken entitlement can become resentment, and resentment searches for a moral explanation. Instead of saying, "I am afraid your growth will leave me behind," the person may say, "You think you are better than us now." That accusation can pull you back into an old role. You shrink your standards to prove your loyalty. You abandon a boundary to demonstrate that success has not changed you. Healthy friendship allows both people to update their image of each other. It does not require one person to remain small, so the past can remain comfortable. Law 10 is even easier to misuse. Green's warning about the unhappy and unlucky can sound like permission to abandon people when life becomes difficult. But pain is not contagious in the way character is. Everyone suffers. Loyal people go through depression, grief, debt, failure, and fear. Compassion means staying present when someone is hurting. The danger is a repeated pattern in which a person refuses responsibility and recruits everyone around them into the consequences. Tess's breakup was not the threat. The threat was that every crisis became a reason to break agreements, and every rescue became proof that someone else would absorb the cost. There is a difference between supporting a person through a storm and allowing them to make your life the drainage system. Can you recognize that difference in one of your relationships? Nina finally called her accountant, who had been asking for a meeting for weeks. He showed her the numbers. The agency had enough cash for 3 months. It could survive, but only if Nina reduced expenses, repaired client confidence, and completed the large project on time. She needed help, so she called Julian. Nina expected him to enjoy her weakness. He did not. He asked for the project scope, offered a price, and explained exactly what his team would and would not do. He requested 50% in advance. He agreed in writing not to solicit the client. The terms were not generous. They were clear. For the first time, Nina understood why a former rival could sometimes be safer than an unexamined friend. Julian did not need her to believe in his loyalty. He needed the agreement to serve both sides. Their incentives were visible. Nina accepted. Julian's team helped North and Finch deliver the project. Nina then met with every remaining employee and told them the truth, not every private detail, but enough to restore trust. She apologized for the double standard she had created. She established clear responsibilities, financial controls, and a process for raising concerns about leadership. She also began rebuilding her network. She returned calls, she attended events, she spoke with former clients, other founders, suppliers, and even competitors. That is Law 18 in modern life. Isolation feels safe after betrayal because no one can reach you, but no one can support you either. A fortress protects you from surprise while slowly cutting you off from information, opportunity, and correction. Nina had confused independence with doing everything alone. Real independence is having more than one path to help, truth, and opportunity. Law 20 adds the final piece. Do not commit so completely to one person, group, or identity that you lose the ability to judge what is happening. Nina had allowed one friendship to become her business, social world, and source of validation. When the friendship broke, every system failed at once. Diversification is not only a financial principle, it is an emotional one. No single person should control your access to belonging, information, income, and self-worth. That does not create intimacy. It creates captivity with affectionate language. Over the next year, North and Finch became smaller but healthier. Nina and Julian continued working together on selected projects. They never became best friends. They became something that mattered just as much. Reliable allies with clear incentives. Nina and Tess did not reconcile quickly. Months later, they met for coffee. Both apologized for parts of what had happened. But Nina no longer used forgiveness as a shortcut back to unrestricted trust. She could care about Tess and still require evidence before sharing risk again. Forgiveness changes what you carry. Trust changes what you permit. They are not the same decision. How can you build trust without becoming suspicious of everyone? Use a 4-part tool called PACT. P. Patterns over promises. Do not judge reliability by the intensity of what someone says. Watch what they repeat. Do they keep small agreements? Do they tell the truth when the truth costs them? Do they repair harm without needing to be chased? One dramatic apology cannot outweigh a stable pattern. A. Align incentives. Ask what each person gains, risks, and controls. Good incentives do not replace character, but they reduce unnecessary temptation. If you are entering business with a friend, write the agreement while you still like each other. Clarity is not distrust. It is protection for the relationship when memory and emotion begin telling different stories. C. Connect widely. Maintain relationships beyond one person or group. Keep mentors, peers, friends, and professional connections in different parts of your life. You do not need to use people. You need enough connection that one disagreement cannot erase your entire world. T. Test before you trust deeply. Trust in stages. Share a small responsibility before a large one. Observe how someone handles a minor boundary before giving them access to a major vulnerability. The safest trust is not blind. It has survived contact with reality. Think about your own circle. Who has earned trust through consistent behavior rather than shared history? Is there a rival or difficult colleague whose incentives are actually clearer than those of someone close to you? Are you supporting a person through pain or repeatedly protecting them from the consequences that might help them change? And where have you become so committed to one relationship or group that you no longer feel free to see it honestly? Power does not require a life without friendship. It requires friendship strong enough to survive boundaries, truth, and separate identities. The people closest to you should not need you to become blind in order to feel trusted. In the next episode, we will examine a different trap: being helpful to everyone and valuable to no one. Why do the people who solve every problem often remain underpaid, overlooked, and impossible to promote? And how can you become difficult to replace without making yourself a prisoner of your own usefulness? Episode 4 is called Become Valuable, Not Merely Helpful. Until then, remember, you do not need another life. You may simply need a